The return to play protocol is an essential part of concussion management and is designed to ensure that athletes can safely return to their sport without risking further injury. One important tool that can be integrated within this protocol is the Buffalo Concussion Treadmill test. It can also be completed on a stationary bike, and then it would be called the Buffalo Concussion Bike Test. But most people utilize the treadmill test, and I personally have a treadmill in my office and not a bike, so we'll talk about the treadmill test. The Buffalo Concussion Treadmill Test is a specialized test that is used to assess an athlete's tolerance to physical activity following a concussion. The test involves gradually increasing the athlete's heart rate and speed on a treadmill while monitoring their symptoms. So, how exactly is the test performed? Well, you start with an athlete on a treadmill at a speed of 3.2 miles per hour and a 0% incline. The treadmill grade is then increased by 1% each minute for the first 15 minutes. What you're looking for is an increase in the athlete's symptoms by 2 points on a 10-point scale or a heart rate that reaches greater than 180. If the athlete makes it all the way to 15% without meeting these requirements, the speed of the treadmill will then be increased by zero point 0.2 miles per hour every minute. Once we have this data, we can then take the heart rate of the athlete when their symptoms spiked by 2 points and prescribe sub-symptom threshold activity. So what the athlete will do is we'll take 80% of the heart rate in which they experience symptoms. So if the symptoms spiked from, let's say, a 5 to a 7 at 150 beats per minute, the athlete will do some sort of aerobic exercise like the treadmill or maybe a stationary bike at or below 120 beats per minute for 20 minutes per day. The goal of the test is to determine the level of physical activity the athlete can safely tolerate without exacerbating their symptoms or risking further injury. Integrating the Buffalo Concussion Treadmill test into the return to play protocol is important for several reasons. First, it allows for a more individualized and objective assessment of an athlete's readiness to return to sport. Traditional concussion management protocols rely on subjective assessments of symptoms and cognitive function, which can be difficult to interpret and may vary from one healthcare provider to another. The Buffalo Concussion Treadmill test provides a more objective measure of an athlete's physical readiness for return to sport, which can help to ensure that they are not at risk for further injury. Second, the Buffalo Concussion Treadmill test allows for a more gradual and controlled return to physical activity. The test involves a step by step process of increasing the athlete's heart rate by increasing the inclination and speed of the treadmill, which allows for a more controlled and gradual increase in physical activity. This is important because returning to physical activity too quickly or at too high of an intensity can exacerbate symptoms and increase the risk of further injury. Integrating the Buffalo Concussion Treadmill test into the return to play protocol can help reduce the risk of further injury. Research has shown that athletes who return to sport too quickly after concussion are at increased risk of experiencing another concussion. So, by utilizing the Buffalo Concussion Treadmill test to ensure that the athletes are physically ready to return to sport, healthcare providers can help reduce the risk of further injury and ensure that athletes are able to safely return to their sport. If this sounds like you just sustained a head injury and you aren't sure what to do next, I made a free guide that you can download on our website that will talk about all the next steps that you need to take in order to achieve a full recovery. I'll drop the link down below.